Hey kid, where do werewolves get their metals from? From the Howling Mine. Hey friends, back when Innistrad Midnight Hunt was released, I made a huge update to my Werewolf Tribal Primer. The set was a howling success for Werewolf fans, finally throwing us a bone with a true alpha commander in Tovolar Dire Overlord, along with many other doggy treats. But fortunately for us, that wasn't the end of Werewolf Tribal support cards this year. Innistrad Crimson Vow has just come out, and despite being a vampire-themed set, the sweet werewolf hits keep coming, enough to warrant a new update to my primer. So here's a mini update ranking all the best new cards from the set for Werewolf Tribal under Tovolar Dire Overlord, along with my reasons why. I will start with the betas and work my way up to the alphas and then the coveted pack leader, my pick for the best werewolf card from the set. So first are the betas, the cards that I'll happily run in a lower budget version of the deck. They fit nicely with the deck's game plan of beating their opponents into submission with combat damage, either by coming down early to start drawing cards off Tovolar, or providing some nice utility for a tribe. Starting at the lowest mana value, we've got the goodest little boy, Packsong Pup. This is a 2-drop that starts off as a 1/1 and comes with no evasion or meaningful utility, but it grows into a noticeable threat and helps us curve into Tovolar. But its true utility is its cute factor. What cold-hearted monster would kill this pup? Either it survives and finishes off your opponents, or it dies and you go John Wick on its killer. Next up, we've got Howling Mine, which comes with a very low power floor of just giving a single creature +2/+2 each combat and nothing else, not even trample, but the power ceiling can be quite high, making up to 3 wolf tokens per turn cycle, which is very nice. I'm expecting that it'll average 1 wolf token per cycle, but I could just be undervaluing it. Either way, it's a solid way to put some damage through and get some more werewolves on the battlefield. Very solid for a 3-drop. Next, we've got Weaver of Blossoms, which is basically a bad Scorn villager, coming out a turn later, and while it's a bigger creature, it doesn't have vigilance. Still, having additional mana dorks isn't bad, especially when they have the right creature type to benefit from our tribal synergies. Next are the 4-drops, which are pretty crowded in Werewolf Tribal. The front side of Ballista Watcher is pretty bad. Sure, you can pick off random utility creatures like Birds of Paradise, but you have to spend 3 mana and tap it. Not a great rate. The backside is more interesting though. Removing blockers is great in an attack-focused deck, and you don't need to tap it anymore, so it can still swing and activate its ability. 3 mana is still a lot to activate, but it's a great ability to push damage through and close out games. But a better 4-drop is Child of the Pack. Child has a better front side, letting you spend your mana making wolf tokens, progressing the deck's game plan while making it less painful for you to skip your turn, not casting spells, to switch day to night. The backside is better too, since it has trample and buffs all your creatures for no mana. The final pseudo 4-drop is Wolfkin Outcast. The front side is quite beefy if unremarkable, but the backside is pretty sweet, offering the tribe resiliency to board wipes. And while yes, not having our board wiped would be preferable, drawing a bunch of cards will at least help us recover instead of being sent home with our tails between our legs. The final, and probably the strongest beta of the bunch, is the 5-drop Volatile Arsonist. Menace and Haste are super useful to get in there and start drawing cards off Tovolar. The front side can pick off mana dorks, and the back side can pick off bigger utility creatures as well. Plus, it's effectively swinging in for 7 damage all by itself, which is pretty respectable. If the tribe wasn't so full on top end cards, I might rank this even higher. Alright, now that we've chewed on the filler bones, it's time for our main course. The alphas. These are the cards that I strongly recommend making room for in any werewolf deck, even the blinged out versions. They are the top competition for their respective slots. So starting at the lowest mana value is Ascended Pack Leader. It's a 1-drop, so its main purpose is to curve into Tovolar Dire Overlord and efficiently start drawing cards off it. It doesn't have evasion or a useful utility, but it starts as an alright 2/1 and can slowly grow into a bigger threat as we cast more of our expensive creatures, which helps us keep attacking with it. Good 1-drops are so hard to come by in this archetype, so it's notable that Ascendant is one of the best ones. Moving up to 3-drops is one of my favorite cards from the set, Cemetery Prowler. This wolf is a sweet mix of repeat graveyard hate and mana discount that I love. Plus, a 3/4 for 3 isn't too bad stat-wise. It's great to have a tribal way to shut down graveyard shenanigans, and exiling a creature means our creature-heavy archetype gets heavily ramped. This is one of the best 3-drops in the entire archetype. Next, we've got Ill-Tempered Loner, which is such an exciting card for the tribe. It makes blocking a nightmare for opponents because any blocker's damage can be utilized as creature removal or just aimed at people's faces. It also synergizes well with the fighting werewolves like Tovolar's Packleader or Ulrich Uncontested Alpha, or becomes a straight up win condition if you have a board full of creatures and cast Blasphemous Act, sending all that damage to our opponent's faces. The Loner is a card that either turns games around or outright wins them. It's definitely one of the best 4-drops in the tribe. Now, in a tribe already full on 6-drops, Avabruck Caretaker manages to stand out by being incredibly hard to deal with, pumping our creatures, and then flipping to make our entire board immune to target removal. Our opponents either have to have a board wipe to deal with us, or we're going to kill them in a hurry. It's still not as good as Tovolar's Huntmaster, but it's definitely up there. And rounding out the alphas is yet another 6-drop. Hollowhenge Overlord is an amazing tribal finisher, instantly doubling your army with wolf tokens that benefit from all the tribal buffs. Flash means you can avoid casting it on your own turn, guaranteeing that day will turn into night if necessary, and you can surprise the table on the end step before your turn with it. The wolf tokens desperately want haste, but we're in Gruul, so it shouldn't be too hard to give them that. The only strike against this card is that it's another great 6-drop that we need to find room for, but it's certainly worth considering a slot. So now that we've covered some of the best new cards that I highly recommend adding to your werewolf deck, I have one more card that is so good that I pretty much demand you make room for it. Howlpack Piper provides everything Werewolf Tribal desperately needs. It lets you dump all your creatures onto the battlefield, usually at a high mana discount, especially considering how many 5 and 6 drops we have available to us, all while dodging any potential counter magic. As a cherry on top, Piper lets you play out your hand without casting anything, guaranteeing that day becomes night at the start of the next turn. But wait, there's even more. Whenever the Piper flips or enters the battlefield as Wildsong Howler, it essentially puts another creature card into your hand. And since you might switch between day and night multiple times per turn cycle, this can yield a ton of card advantage. The only minor issue with the Piper is that sometimes you'll want to use the Piper's activated ability while it's night on your turn, which is a bit awkward. But on the flip side, if it's night on your turn and you have a bunch of werewolves out, you're probably winning anyway. Howlpack Piper is my pick for the single best card in Crimson Vow, and one of the greatest werewolf cards in the archetype. It's a staple, so run it and love it. And that's it for my quick update on Werewolf Tribal. I'm going to relink my primer in the video description below, and hopefully this quick update will serve as a guide on which cards will best suit your own list. So until next time, friends, see ya!